Hey there, my name is Peter Sweeney and I am an environment and materials artist. Today, I'm going to be showing you how you can use Sloyd's automated texturing to streamline your workflow and rapidly create personalized models. Alrighty, well let's get right into it. Here we are in the Sloyd program, and I'm going to start by using the AI prompt to create my model. For this project, I'm going to do a sci-fi sword. I want to keep it a little bit more simplistic, like this angled blade at the top, and I liked the look of the guard too. Could mess around with the hand guard and the wackiness, but I'm going to keep it pretty standard for this. I am going to go into the materials section and throw on something with a little bit more contrast so that I can see how the materials are broken up on the model. That looks pretty good to me, so I'm going to put it into the sci-fi monochromatic material and export it as a GLB file so that I can bring it on over to Blender. Switching over to Blender, there's a few things we got to do to tidy things up a bit. Firstly, I'm going to make sure that we switch our shading view so that we can see how the materials will actually be looking. Secondly, I like to go in and clarify which material is which. You can do this simply by changing the base color of each of the materials to see which sides of the model are being affected, and then go through and name them accordingly. And once we have that all sorted out, the next important thing to do is to unwrap our UVs. This will make sure that our UVs stay consistent, and for a project like this, we can just rely on Blender's auto unwrap, and then we're ready to export and bring it over to Substance. So first things first, we're going to go in and bake our world space normals and ambient occlusion. That way we can get a better look at our model. Then when we return, we're going to focus on just the hilt. So by alt-clicking on the layer, you're able to see just the piece we're going to be working on, but I want to keep an eye on the whole thing so we can see how the handle affects the rest of it. So let's start off by searching leather and pulling in the leather skin material. And this is a good sort of start, but it definitely looks a little bit too skin-like for this project. So we're going to pull down a bunch of those sliders, taking down the spread and adjusting the color a bit. We just want to get that leathery look to it, roughness and normal without too much of the other information. But when you have a hilt, it's not just one solid piece like that. It's usually a spiraling tape. So I'm going to go in and add a fill layer with a mask, and then I'm going to add a fill layer to that mask, and we can type in gradient here and pull in a gradient 1, and then we're going to want to switch the projection to a cylinder projection. And so with this just affecting the height of that fill layer, we are going to get some perceived depth being shown, which will give us the appearance of that tape without having to add any more geometry. So I think that's about a good number, and I'm going to change the balance and contrast just a bit so that we can get a good gradient to it. And then I'm going to rotate it so that it looks like it's wrapped around spiraling. And I think that's pretty good. Now, we could spend all day working on this, making sure it looks just the way we want it to, but I think that is good for now. And so we can go in and choose just the hilt material settings and make sure that we have the correct preset selected. And then we can export just the hilt materials, leaving the rest blank. Bringing it back into Blender, we can now start to assemble the materials for our sword. To start, we can drag down an additional window, and I am going to switch it over to the shader editor. This is going to allow us to change the properties of each of the materials. So I'm going to select the hilt material, and you can see that highlighted at the top of the window. And then I'm going to go and add a few textures that we just created in Substance. So when I pull that up, I can go to that textures folder, and then for now I'm just going to bring in the roughness, normal, metallic, and base color. Once we have those brought in, let me zoom in just a bit, and we can get rid of this UV window actually. Once we have that brought in, I am going to start attaching these nodes to the material. So I can plug that base color in, and you can see we're starting to get that brown leathery base. Now I can just duplicate this, switch it over to the normal map, and again plug that into the normal input the material. I will continue this with the metallic and roughness as well, plugging it in to the material and trying to get the look that I saw in Substance in Blender. And for now, that looks like a good leather handle. Now, I like the metal of the blade and base of it, but I think the details could pop a little bit more. So now I'm going to quickly show you how to adjust those values in Blender so that you can even further personalize it. So I like the idea of a gold plating on details of this sword. So I'm just going to change the base color to a orangish yellow and then adjust the roughness until to a point that I think looks natural. And our metal is already set from the material that came in with Sloyd. So now all it's left to do is export and bring it into your game. And there you have it, folks. In under 10 minutes, we were able to personalize the Sloyd model and get it ready for game use. I hope this tutorial was helpful in showing you the ability for these tools to streamline your workflow. Thanks for watching, and make sure to subscribe to stay up to date on all the Sloyd news.